Welcome to the WedPro Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Christina Stubblefield, and today I'm doing something a little different with this episode. It was such a gold mine of information and contained so many eye-opening moments for wedding vendors that I'm actually splitting it into 3 parts. I sat down with bride-to-be Brittany Murphy, who also happens to be a marketer for the past 10 years, to discuss her less than desirable experience of searching for wedding vendors. Listen in to hear her frustrations and insights to ensure you aren't making the same mistakes in your business. Now, let's get started. You are in for maybe one of the best podcast episodes ever. No pressure, Brittany.
Ever.
But let me tell you why you want to pay close attention. If you're a wedding professional, maybe even if you're not a wedding professional, but a business owner, I bet there will be something for you to take away in this episode. So let me introduce you to my guest, Brittany Murphy. I've known her for quite a few years. She has been in the marketing industry for almost 10 years. And guess what? She's engaged in planning her own special day.
Finally.
She's got the bling. Finally, we don't have to go there. But Brittany and I are guests of their podcast, and the conversation came up about marketing in regards to wedding professionals. Mm-hmm. So before we go too far into this, share with me a little bit about, are you excited? Are you ready?
Yeah. And I'm glad you asked me now that it's been a little bit since I've been engaged, because yes, as of this point, super excited. I mean, I've always been excited, but once you kind of go through that first week or two of, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, I cannot wait for it, you, of course, start to get bombarded by the questions of when's your wedding? Where's your wedding going to be? How many people are going to have? What are you going to wear? And at that point, you're still realizing, I'm freaking engaged. Like, this is awesome. Stop asking all these questions. Like, that doesn't matter just yet. So, yes, at this point, having some things organized, having people less hound you on what you're doing is exciting, because you got to think about, it's the day I'm spending with my best friend versus all the little details of cake, flowers, invitations, anything it can be. It is very excited now.
All the things,
the ring, the bling, and all the things I've been trying to get together for this party.
Exactly. She referenced our other podcast, and I'm glad that you've listened to that.
I have.
So a topic come up about online presence, visibility.
Yep.
And it was like, I kind of poked the bear, and it was just like all of a sudden, and I was like, Brittany, will you come on and be a guest? Because I think hearing what you have to say, which you really haven't shared much with me, so this is going to be me hearing it too for the first time, could be eye-opening. It could be educational. And what I hope people take away from this episode is they can learn something that they can implement in their own business to help with online presence. So, because you have that marketing background, where do you want to start?
Ooh, well, maybe the way I started my search.
Good point.
Might be a good way to kind of go about this. So just timeline references, so everyone listening kind of understands where this bride started figuring her shit out from. I was engaged this year in 2022 on January 3rd.
And as of right now, when we're recording this, it is the end of October of 2022.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I am about 8 months away from the wedding at this point.
Okay.
I did not begin searching for a lot of things until about March of this year. So I kind of gave myself a good month or two of just enjoying the moment, enjoying the time, not freaking out about getting everything planned.
Okay.
And so basically around that March to spring, I went ahead and I started everything searching the big ones you want, the venue, food, and I started kind of going my secondary things, but really.
When you say search, yeah, that's where you're going with this. Okay.
Yep. So for me, just to give people a little more background, I, just like Christina, I'm in the marketing world. I focus primarily on like home service businesses. And so when it comes to that, people are very reactive, kind of like they are in wedding planning. I have not been engaged my entire life, so I'm not proactively looking out for resources, a photographer, a venue. I'm reactively acting to, once getting engaged, how to plan a wedding event. So that is kind of a similar concept I tell all of my contractors is people are now have a problem, they're looking for a solution, and they need that solution to be found very easily. So
and probably educating themselves a little bit on some things along the way.
100%, because as I told Christina before this started recording, this is my very first wedding that I'm the bride in. Now, I have been a bridesmaid and a maid of honor many, many a times before that. As I joked, it was like 13 dresses, not 27 just yet, but 13 dresses would be my TV show if I had one. And I kind of understood a lot of the concepts of everything. Here's all the things I need. I've helped my brides, kind of plan this stuff out, look at things. But from my background and my search, I focus more on SEO. So that's just, how people show up in Google. So I was mainly going to Google and typing in wedding photographers, Louisville KY, and just basically picking up all those services going through there. And Christina did poke the bear because I told her this is how I started searching. I just went to what we all call the Holy Grail, Google, that owns literally every entity almost out there, except for Meta. And going through the search from there, trying to see, okay, if I type in photographers, who's showing up? What do the reviews look like? What information do they have? Do they do weddings? Have they done this recently? Have they taken any photos at my venue? All those little things you get from YouTube videos you watch. Here's all the questions to ask your photographer. I was going through the process to find these on the websites.
You just hit 8 or 10 things along the way right there.
Yes.
Because you didn't look for just reviews. You didn't look for just photos, just videos. You were looking at the entire picture, not just one snippet.
100%. And that's where all of my frustration really began, because here I was going to, at least in my world, this needs to say everything about your business. So someone can call you within a pretty quick time to have you fix their roof, their broken HVAC system, if it's freezing cold in winter. Like, people need information quickly to purchase. And it was completely opposite when I kind of fell into this wedding industry world. I was not seeing the FAQs I needed as a first-time bride to make a decision on, how do I go through this? What do I do next? Is this a person I want to contact? So yes, of the things I feel like when I was searching, I do want to go back to touch on those. I'm looking to kind of fill a holistic bubble of enough information to help me make a decision on whether or not to email you. Now, I'm sure a lot of people in the wedding industry hate brides in a sense because we probably play it like Tinder. I'm sure we email out a lot of people.
Hate is a very, very strong word.
Okay, I was saying loathe earlier,
Okay.
so I can go back to Count Olaf and say loathe.
Okay.
A lot. In my industry, I dislike it as well. When people are price shopping, tire kickers, we don't like that. But people don't know what they don't know. And in our worlds as well, we sell marketing. Well, no one knows what price to put on marketing because there's all aspects, there's all qualities, there's all quantities of it. Mm-hmm. And so kind of when I was going to these websites, I'm talking, when I talk to my clients, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Of course you can. Go for it.
I bitch to them about one of the biggest things is give price points or give a little bit of process to help someone understand a pricing situation they could go into. So going back to these websites, if I was able to find some websites where I did like the gallery of pictures, which almost every website had pictures, I'll give that to them. I mean, thank God this is all photography. They did have imagery on there.
Okay. Fairly recent.
That's not hard to tell. So luckily,
Okay.
Social media, again, I don't mess with social media, but I use social media in my search. So again, even though right now I'm bitching about the website side, I was clicking on their icons if they had it to go check out their Instagram or their Facebook. Because I was able to see within that time, was this a recent job you just did? Were these recent engagement photos you just completed?
Not from 5, 6, 7 years ago.
From 5 years ago. And that's kind of, you can't always tell. And so the hard part is, if I'm a potential client and I can't tell anything about this that wows me, then the easiest thing for me to do is push the back button and go to the next website and see if I like those pictures more. It's like the showcase of your work. And especially within the wedding industry, almost everything's visual. And that's the beauty of it. That's why weddings are so gorgeous. Not is it only the unity of two people and everything that we should say about it, but it's still a huge freaking party. And
Absolutely.
It's always a beautiful party at the same time because people put a lot of time and effort to make sure their friends and family have a great time with it. So yes, and I'm able to tell if any of these were recent jobs. And I will give applaud. There were a few people who did blog posts. And in those blog posts, they would actually say, here's my most recent wedding. Here's the location that wedding was at. And here's all the photos from it, which in SEO is a huge idea for them to actually go down and really kind of replicate as much as possible, because they're creating good content, not just for Google, but for me as the end user. Oh, wow, they actually have done photography at my venue. Oh, wow, they have worked with brides in the summer season. Oh, wow, they have done this. All those little things feed clues into me that build trust.
And those blog posts are usually date and time stamped.
100%. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's kind of hard. So if you just have a showcase of gallery, unless you actually have dates listed on all of these and they're posted, which most time galleries don't, then we're not going to know. So a quick example is the photographer I ended up booking. He was telling, and I actually got video services from him as well, because I'll be honest, that was a higher priority for me, was video over photo. So I kind of deemed that higher in my searches. And even I can't stop. I actually gave him feedback. I gave him a website audit during our first meeting. Here's him trying to interview me to see if I'm a good client. Here's me asking him questions. And also I'm like, hey, do you have like 5 extra minutes? Yeah. What questions do you have? Actually, it's questions I'd love to ask you. And he's like, oh, I thought you already did. I said, well, they're marketing questions, like on your website. Are these actually the things I'm going to be getting out of it? He's like, well, no, actually, those are just the 30-second clips she'll be getting. Okay. Do you have an example of the 2-minute one I'll be getting, or the 5-minute? Yeah, I could get those to you. And I was like, okay, just FYI, what would save you time and me time and probably have made me book this even quicker is if you had all those examples, saying a usual package might include a 30-second, 2-minute, and a 5 or 7-minute video. Here's the examples of what that would look like below. And now I could actually see, oh, wow, so they all look different. They all have a different feel. So it's not like I'm paying for one video that keeps getting cropped shorter and shorter. I'm still having variations in the actual personality of this videographer at the same time. So even though that's maybe not what you think is a deciding factor, these are all visual things we're taking in, because especially, I know I'm stuck on photography right now, but if your world is all based on the visual aspects of it, even in his situation, I was like, don't not give me that info. I don't need you to post all of your last weddings. I don't need 100 videos on here. Even if you had 1 or 2 examples and had all of those 3 videos, each of these 2 weddings got, that's only 6 videos total. I would watch all of those and it would give me enough clue to say, okay, this guy's worth the price, or I know what's included within it. I feel good with his quality and the work I'd be getting with it.
And you also mentioned you were wanting to read more also about the experience. Like you worded it about what was included with packages.
Yeah.
But honestly, like you mentioned with wedding professionals, they are part of the overall experience.
Yes.
It is the union of 2 people, but yes, it ends up being a party. And that's what I heard out of your words is I feel like blog is a great example. By blogging, you can share how this amazing event came together. And although you might not read it, there's people out there that will. A tip that I a lot of times tell people is the next day, the next week, sit down with your cell phone, turn on the video, and just talk to that phone like it is a potential client and share with them about the event you just did. It's fresher in your mind. Mm-hmm. You're going to have points about it that maybe somebody else doesn't. Not only is it a way to document your hard work, energy, and effort, it also is a way for you to showcase your professionalism, your experience that you're helped deliver, because sometimes that is very hard to showcase in short form video that is so popular right now, mm-hmm. or in photos. And blogging is great. I usually encourage people to do both video and include the wording. That way, no matter if your audience wants to read or watch. And I think that people have just looked at blogging, oh, that's for just information. Oh, that's for this, that. And you assume mm-hmm. that your audience might not necessarily like that form. So I think it's really important. A lot of your points are like rolled in. They're like power balls. Like, yeah. Okay, that includes 10 different items.
Yeah.
So,
and the easy way I would rather break that down is if you want to think about this very, very simply, is there's a million different personality types, and we're all salespeople for our business. So we've talked to enough people to know everybody's different when we talk to them. So your website has to speak to that. Are there the people who just are quick hitters? Hey, I want to know what FAQ pages. What do you include? What's the pricing look like? A few pictures. Okay, great. Book a call. Then you have other people. Okay, maybe this is their first time planning it. Maybe they have no idea what's been included. Maybe they've never been in weddings before. They have no idea what your process looks like. Nothing is helping them on your website to feel comfortable enough to call you. So you have to think, am I giving enough information to the person that wants to do more research? And by the way, sometimes people who do more research are better clients because they've actually qualified themselves through reading all of this information on your website to say, holy shit, this is who I need to work with. And I know I just jam-packed 3 more tips into that last sentence.
No, one thing I'm going to call out, ding, 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 ideal clients. So many times wedding professionals are yes people. Yes, I'm available on that date. Yes, yes, yes. And then holy shit, 12 or 18 months go by and that's really, you just said yes because you wanted to book another event or you want to go ahead and seal that deal. And what you've just said by pre-qualifying, that's really drilling down to more your ideal client. And Brittany, another thing there is so many people are hearing, oh, I only have 3 seconds, I only have 5 seconds to get people's attention. And they're cutting way back on what they're putting out there on their website, whether they have somebody do it or they do it themselves. It does not hurt to have an FAQ page, a process page. Here's different packages, and this is what's included. So what that not everyone reads it? But what about those that want it and it's not there? You said it earlier. It's easy to hit the back button and move on.
Yeah. And think about it at the same time, this is a benefit to you. You are saving your time doing this. Even the website for our business, selling marketing services, I just talked with my business partner. I said, hey, we need to update the pricing page because I want to be able to send people there if they're curious on what the expectations of investment might be. So that way it's a very long blog post. We've given all examples. Yes, everything we just said, we have it on this blog post so they can read it. And to me, I'm also qualifying that person. Hey, if you have time to read this, and then if after reading this, you still understand the investment made up to go forward with this, you're my ideal client because you understand that this is a long-term investment. You understand things are not overnight. We can do those things, but most of the time it's to be a long-term journey together. Here's what we expect of you. Here's what you should expect from us. And we have great relationships and it's not a conflict moving forward. And as you said before, not everyone you choose to work with as a vendor on your wedding day is going to be involved in every single aspect. But during the sales process, the people I talked to, that was one of their selling features. Hey, if you have any questions, bounce them off of me. And I love that because in my head, I heard, okay, you're welcome to being a part of the process, which now makes me trust you a little bit more because that means you might give a shit about me. That's why you're answering my questions. You want me to have a really good experience with this. So now you qualify.
Wait, the experience is not just the day of?
Oh my God, Christina, no. It starts the first experience I have any contact with you. If anyone thought differently than that.
Even if it's on Google.
Even if it's on Google.
Before they've talked to you, emailed, anything, the first experience is now happening without an in-person meeting, a phone call, an email, a text, and anything.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, since I said I've been in 13 weddings, I asked a lot of my girlfriends, hey, who'd you recommend for some of these aspects? I don't know a DJ. Can you give me who you'd recommend? And getting those referrals is great. Yes, I did reach out to those businesses if I liked their website. So that's also one thing I think we're forgetting is word of mouth is great. It is usually a better conversion portion of it, but they're still going to check out other places to look at you. Imagine if I got a referral for this DJ and I met with him and I said, oh, that sounds awesome. But I look at his reviews and he's a 2.5 out of 50 reviews. You think I'm still going to book a call with that DJ?
Probably not.
No.
Okay, what you just said there though, so many people are saying something about our website's dead. Websites aren't as important. People aren't going to my website. I got news for you. I'll go up against anybody to tell you your website is the foundation of your business. I like short form video, like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of that. But if you think that your website goes on the back burner because now that TikTok's out there, you're sadly mistaking. And unfortunately, what's happening is costing you business you don't even know about.
100%. I mean, if you think about the aspect of, I have limited time on my plate to also do all this research to find vendors. So again, think about on the client side, what is going to make their lives even easier. So for example, I saw a few videographers who only had an Instagram. Now, not that I'm going to rant about them too hard, But what the only problem I would say to someone who depends solely on social media as their only place to house their content is I had to watch 20 different posts to try to get enough information about what this person did. And after 20, I got bored. I couldn't find it. I kind of got frustrated. And I said, you know what? This doesn't really seem maybe a good fit for me if they're making it this hard for me to find out this information.
Let me ask you a question on that. Were most of those posts just about events? Did you ever see the owner, the business? Did you ever see any resource information or tips to give you any kind of vibe about this business other than maybe their style?
Very few. And I'm glad you bring that up because the few people who did showcase like, hey, here's a quick testimonial I got. Hey, here's a free ebook I have of all the, and this is great cheat. Guys, you should be writing down these notes while we're talking about this. One person literally said the best top 10 venues to get married in Louisville, and it was a photographer. You could do this for any industry. But that was like, ooh, actually, I'm still looking at venues. I'm looking at photographer. I'm looking for a lot of things that are important to me. But hey, if my photographer can influence the venue, like I'm open to seeing where you think's best because you probably know these places better than me.
They gave something back without even knowing.
100%. Yes. And it built trust in that person. And unfortunately, when I reached out, they were already booked. And I was like, well, I know why, because you're making this easy for me. But most of those places don't. All they're doing majority of the time is just showcasing some pictures or videos of their work over and over again, which is great. I want to see consistency in your product, the quality that you do. But I only get to know so much about you and your company and your process. How are you going to handle anything crisis-wise that might happen? I'm not learning anything of that other than here's a project that went well and this is what it looked like.
Nothing about the know, like, and trust factor. Now, of course, people are looking for different style of photos and video and decor and design. I get all of that. But I think that sometimes you get so wrapped up, because a lot of times I will tell people, I say a lot, wedding professionals have the most content available at their fingertips. And a lot of times what I'm talking about is events where they can take pictures and video clips and here and there. But that doesn't mean don't put out some kind of content about you, your business. Why do you do it? Testimonials and things like that. And, I know that this may sound like a harsher episode, but why I knew that this one was so important was it's coming straight from a source. You just went through this. You understand the marketing side of it. And sometimes you have to hear the hard truth to really make it resonate and be like, okay, I get it. And it can also sound like, okay, I got to keep my social media channels up to date, my Google, my website, my this, my that. But the world we're in with the World Wide Web, most of the time, your audiences are looking in multiple places, not just one. So I'm glad you've also kind of rolled that into what you've been talking about.
Yeah. And one thing I thought of was, I sell websites. I know their investment. And even when I was driving my way here, I said, I really want to make sure that one thing we say is you have to freaking have that website. And I'm sure Christina would back me up on this. I don't care if you go to Wix.com and get a free template and just make this website yourself. You do not need to buy a fancy website. The fact you have one and actually put this information on top of it is going to be way far and above half of your competitors right there. Now imagine if you take it a step further. What type of authority could you be then?
I would agree with you there. And I feel like a lot of times wedding professionals get in their own way. It's hard for them to talk about themselves, to talk about their services, because you're all wrapped up in your own business. And that's why a lot of times, even with our own website for our business, having someone on the outside to pull that information and stuff out can be beneficial. But you got to have your information out there.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if anyone does this, but even if you have like follow-up calls with your couples, brides, grooms after, asking them how things went. I know probably some people have a process to ask for a review. That's great. But do you actually have a way to like chat with them really quick and get some feedback afterwards? Because the reasons they decide to buy and book with you, the reasons they're still happy with buying and booking from you could be two different reasons before and then after close of purchase. So even little things like that, it's putting the information in that's going to help me. So whatever other brides are saying about you is probably information as a bride I would want, but you're not going to know that unless you ask. And then also, when you don't share these in all the right places, no one's going to know that about you either, because it is hard to talk about yourself.
The other thing you just mentioned is by having those conversations at the beginning, middle, and end, listen. The lingo a lot of times that engaged couples use compared to wedding professionals is different. And you can learn some things there with keywords, with information. You know, you don't have to use big fancy terminology. One thing we say, an engaged person may not say. And there's so much power in listening to your clients throughout the process and jotting some of that down, maybe what they called your package. Or one of my favorite things to ask is, you know, in your own words, what do you think I provided? And it's crazy how much different the answer's in what I do, not even as a wedding vendor, because I don't offer any services for engaged couples other than the free podcast. But listening, you can hear so much to turn around and implement in your business, somewhere in your marketing.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest marketing tips I give my guys is when that phone call comes in or that email comes in from a prospect, what questions are they asking? Write those questions down. When you get that question again, put a tally mark beside it. By the end of the month, you will know your top asked questions. If those are not on your website, within
the FAQ section?
In the FAQ, within the next 90 days, I'm going to hunt you down. No, I mean, I'm getting serious about this because those are questions we're asking. And again,
if you've heard from 2, there's at least another 10 out there that have not reached out.
And the thing you have to remember is Google, I told Chris this earlier, Google's our new best friend. We don't always ask our mother, our father, our best friend, our sister, our brother for advice or, hey, what would you do in this situation? We're taking it internally and we're saying, Google, what should we do in this situation? Because in the day, we might be embarrassed, we might be shy, or we just want the information before we continue on because we don't want to sound dumb. So again, your FAQs are making someone sound more informed. So when they do talk to you, you actually can have a better conversation. Again, like Christina said, do not use all the technical verbiage because when they would use that with me, I would make literally a deer in the headlight face. And I was like, can you re-explain that? Like, I'm just going to let you fly by. Like, I don't know what any of this is. So please. Oh, okay. And they would go through it. So it's hard because you get caught up in your own world. We're used to doing this every day. So I say SEO and I'll say it a million times a day. Like everybody knows what that word is. Not everybody know what that acronym actually stands for. So I have to use other words to make sure that people understand what I do and kind of back via versa. So it's one of those things. If people are already asking you once or twice, that means they've typed it into Google 10 times more than that. So don't just think onesie and twosies, like tens to 20s to hundreds of people are typing this in your city because they don't know what the answer is. And if you could actually be the authority to answer that for them, wow, what a place to be in where they're on your freaking website getting the answer to this. Who's the authority now?
Preach. Just keep going.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Right. Absolutely. And this is one of those episodes that you may have to go back and listen to 2, 3, or 4 times. Or like Brittany said, jot down some notes. That's how much this is packing in. But I wanted you all to hear straight from her because it's not, oh, well, I had a conversation with Brittany and I know her because of this. You're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. So,
yes.
Okay.
And to recap, since we did mention a few things, what I looked at when I did a search for any of the vendors I wanted to use is I looked for a gallery. I look for FAQ questions. I loved a process page. What does this look like? What's the journey with you going to look like? My experience.
And the reason you said that is because you haven't done this. Even though you've been in other weddings, you haven't been the bride.
Yes.
So you wanted to know more about that.
100%. So again, just because we've been to a lot of weddings does not mean I know how to book the DJ. I've never done that part of it.
Or what to look for or anything like that.
Anything like that. Pricing is always one I push my clients towards. And here's something. If you're going to fight on pricing, at least consider putting a start set. If you were going to go bare bones and fight us, tooth and nail on this, at least puts a start set. Again, that's just a qualifying thing. If your packages start at $5, you need to put that on there. You might be thinking you're scaring people away, but really you're scaring people who thought this was $500 and we're never going to pay that regardless. And they don't value your quality. So you're helping yourself out on that.
Louder for the people in the back, please.
Yes. And in regards to that, also a testimonials page. You have to be sharing these things. We're going to check out your Facebook. We're going to check out your Google. We're going to check out anywhere else we think reviews might be made just to make sure we're doing a little background check on you, that you're a legitimate business. You're not going to fly by night on us because there are too many things on this day that we do not want to go wrong.
Absolutely.
So you're going to do that research on it. But again, your website's that house to bring everything in. So bring those testimonials in. If you have video testimonials, if you recorded any of your brides, at the venue or following up with them, if you had a Zoom call, hey, describe what I did for you. What were your thoughts on this? Can I record this? Those are amazing videos because now it's out of that bride's mouth. It's on your website. It's building all together. I can go to the FAQ page. Oh yeah, she had this package. Okay, cool. That makes me more interested in this package because she talked about all the things she got. And easily contacting you. Like those are the things, like the holy grail, all the things I looked at. So check your websites out, guys. Look for all those different pages because I can tell you 9 out of 10 brides are looking at all those things to make a decision, whether or not their mother said you had to use this referral, their friend said you should use this referral. We're all doing our work because again, a lot of things happened over that horrible time in our life a couple years ago we don't want to mention anymore. So when it comes to that, we're all a little more nervous and skittish about anything pandemic related. So with that, all these different aspects of how they're going to search for you, like just again, do a little quick audit. And if you don't have any information on those, just start collecting it. Even if that means you build a page now and you add a testimonial as you get them, I would rather that than no page at all. Because now I'm like, okay, there's one, but at least I can read it versus not having that.
All I can say is, wow, what great information that Brittany is sharing, and you're going to be able to implement these tips and strategies in your business. Now, you don't want to miss the next 2 parts of this episode series. Also, if you haven't already joined the free Facebook group, please do so. You can get the link just by visiting WedProSolutions.com. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, see ya.